Hey guys, tonight we're stepping back in time to feudal Japan. Now when you think of a samurai village, you're probably picturing epic sword fights in the rain, stoic warriors writing poetry under cherry blossom trees, and maybe Tom Cruise, looking confused but determined. And while some of that is vaguely accurate, the daily reality was a lot less cinematic. It was a world without Wi-Fi, without antibiotics, and most terrifyingly, without a decent cup of coffee to get you started in the morning. Frankly, given the lack of modern plumbing alone, you probably wouldn't have survived the first week. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. It's always fun to see where everyone is listening from, so feel free to drop your city or country and the local time in the comments below. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your first sensation isn't sight but feeling. It's the subtle coolness of the morning air on your cheeks, a stark contrast to the comforting weight of the thick, quilted blanket, your kakebutan, that's nestled around you. Beneath your head, there's no soft memory foam pillow. Instead, you feel the firm, slightly scratchy pressure of a block stuffed with rice husks. It's a makura, designed more to protect the elaborate hairstyles of the era than to provide what you'd call modern comfort. It's a bit like trying to sleep on a bag of uncooked pasta. You shift your weight, and the floor beneath your thin sleeping mat, your futon, offers no give. It's made of hard, smooth wooden planks that have been worn down by generations of footsteps. Your eyes are still closed, but your other senses are slowly coming online, painting a picture of the world around you. The first sound you register is distant, almost subconscious. The crowing of a rooster. It's a timeless cliché of morning, but here, it's not an annoyance. It's the village clock. There are no buzzing alarms, no digital displays glowing. In the dark. Time is measured by light and by the familiar rhythm of daily life. This is the hour of the rabbit, the 2-hour block of time surrounding sunrise. An obscure fact of this era is that time was fluid. Daylight was divided into 6 units, and so was the night. This meant that a daytime hour in the summer was significantly longer than a nighttime one, a system that would drive any modern scheduler into a complete meltdown. You hear a soft rustling from the other side of the room, a gentle rhythmic scraping sound. Someone else is already awake, moving with a quiet purpose that speaks of a routine repeated thousands of times. It's the sound of a family member, perhaps your mother or an older sister, using a small hand mill to grind grain for the morning meal. The walls of your small home are made of wood and paper. These sliding shoji screens offer visual privacy, but are acoustically useless. You can hear every sigh, every cough, every quiet shuffle from the next room over. A bit like living in a college dorm, but with more honor and significantly fewer late-night pizza runs. A new scent drifts through the thin paper walls, cutting through the faint, musty smell of straw and old wood. It's the sharp, earthy aroma of wood smoke. Someone nearby has already lit their kamado, the clay and earth stove that serves as the heart of every kitchen. Soon, that will be joined by the smell of steaming rice and the salty, savory fragrance of miso soup. Your stomach gives a small, hopeful flutter. You finally decide to open your eyes. The world comes into view slowly, painted in shades of grey and soft white. The only light filters through the shoji screen that covers the exterior wall, glowing with the pale promise of dawn. It illuminates a room that is starkly simple. There are no posters on the walls, no cluttered nightstands, no piles of clothes. The room's purpose is fluid. By day, this very spot where you sleep might be a living area or a workspace. All the bedding will be folded and stored away in a closet, a model of efficiency that modern tiny home enthusiasts would surely appreciate. You are part of a farmer's family. You know this instinctively. Your hands have calluses that speak of tools, not swords. Your home, while clean and orderly, is small and made of practical, inexpensive materials like wood, bamboo, and clay. This is the reality for the vast majority of people in this era. While the samurai were the glamorous ruling class, they made up less than 10% of the population. It was the farmers, the nomin, who formed the backbone of feudal Japan. On the official social hierarchy, farmers were ranked second, just below the samurai and above the artisans and merchants. This was because they produced the single most important commodity, rice. This was the measure of all wealth, used to pay taxes and stipends. Historians still debate the nuances of this class structure, particularly how the theoretical respect for farmers squared with the harsh realities of their often grueling lives. For you, however, it's not a theory. It's the simple truth that dictates every moment of your existence. The rooster crows again, closer this time. The rhythmic grinding in the next room has stopped, replaced by the soft, percussive chop of a knife on a wooden board. The village is waking up. More distant sounds join the chorus. The lowing of an ox, the creak of a cartwheel, the faint murmur of voices carrying on the still morning air. You push the heavy blanket off, the cool air raising goosebumps on your arms. You're dressed in simple linen sleepwear, what you might call a yukata, though the term means different things in different contexts. There's a day of hard work, ahead a day that will be largely the same as the one before and the one that will follow. But for now, in the quiet peace of the dawn, there is just this moment. The world is holding its breath, and you are a part of it, a single thread in a vast and intricate tapestry. You swing your legs off the futon, your bare feet meeting the cold, smooth shock of the wooden floor. It's time to begin. You stand, your joints protesting a little at the transition from the hard floor to a vertical position. The first task of the day is not for you alone. It's a swift, coordinated effort with the family member who was grinding grain moments. Gago. Together you fold your sleeping mats. It's a practiced rhythmic motion. Fold the thin futon into thirds, then the heavier kekibuten. Finally, you pick up the husk-filled pillow, the makura, which feels surprisingly heavy for its size. The whole bundle is then stored away inside a deep closet, its sliding wooden doors vanishing into the wall. In less than a minute, the sleeping quarters have vanished, transformed back into an all-purpose living space. It's a morning ritual. That's part tidiness, part deceptive workout. Now for hygiene. You slide open the main door of the house, a heavy wooden panel that groans in protest. The morning air hits you fully now. It's crisp and clean, tinged with the smells of damp. Hearth and wood smoke from a dozen different hearths. There's no running water, no bright tiled bathroom waiting for you. Instead, you walk barefoot across a small, swept earth courtyard to a large clay pot filled with water drawn from the village well last night. Next to it sits a smaller wooden bucket and a ladle. You dip the ladle in, the water shockingly cold, against the morning's lingering warmth on your skin. You splash it on your face, the cold jolt chasing away the last vestiges of sleep. You scrub your face with a rough, thin piece of linen cloth. There's no soap. Instead, for a deeper clean, there's a small cotton bag filled with rice bran or nuka. When wet, it creates a milky, slightly abrasive paste that's surprisingly effective at scrubbing away grime. It's an all-natural, biodegradable exfoliant that modern cosmetic companies would charge a fortune for. Next comes dental hygiene. You reach for a small twig-like object. This is a fusayoji, your toothbrush. It's a piece of willow wood, one end of which has been frayed and softened by chewing, creating a crude but functional brush. You dip it in the water, maybe add a pinch of salt from a small pot, and begin to scrub your teeth. The taste is woody. Not unpleasant, just earthy and green. There's no foaming minty gel, no promises of whitening or tartar control. It's a purely mechanical process, and it makes you appreciate the simple genius of its design. Getting everyone in the village to use one of these regularly was likely a key public health initiative. Before you get dressed, there's one last stop, the outhouse. It's a small separate shack at the edge of the property, offering the bare minimum of privacy. Inside, it's dark and smelly, consisting of little more than a wooden plank over a deep pit or a large ceramic pot. It's a necessary, if unpleasant, part of life. But here nothing is wasted. This night soil is a crucial resource. A common historical fact about this period is that human waste was systematically collected and sold as fertilizer for the fields. It was a closed-loop system of agriculture, ensuring the nutrients taken from the soil were eventually returned to it. It's a deeply practical and sustainable approach, though perhaps not something you want to contemplate for too long while you're in here. Returning to the main house, you head to a corner of the room to dress for the day. Your clothes are laid out in a neat pile. As a farmer, your attire is all about function over form. You start with a fundoshi, a long piece of cotton or hemp cloth that serves as a loincloth. It's a surprisingly comfortable and versatile undergarment once you get the hang of the intricate wrapping and tying. Next is a simple shirt-like undergarment, something like a juban which protects the outer layers from sweat and dirt. Your main garment is a noragi, a traditional farmer's work jacket. It's a simple kimono-style robe made of thick, durable hemp fabric, dyed a deep indigo blue. The color is so common because the indigo plant was easy to grow and its dye had mild insect-repellent properties. Your noragi is worn and patched. In several places, each patch a story of long use. The fabric is rough but not uncomfortable, softened by countless washings. You wrap the left side over the right. Wrapping right over left is reserved for dressing the dead, a crucial piece of etiquette to remember. You secure the robe with a simple sash, an obi, wrapped twice around your waist and tied in a neat, functional knot at the front. It's nothing like the ornate, decorative obis you might see on a wealthy merchant's wife. This one is purely for keeping your clothes in place while you work. Historians still debate exactly how much variation in dress existed between the different villages and social strata of farmers, but the core principles of simplicity, durability, and freedom of movement were universal. This was clothing designed to be bent, stretched, and sweated in. Finally, your footwear, a pair of waraji, simple sandals woven from rice straw, are waiting by the door. They are light, breathable, and designed to be disposable. You might go through dozens of pairs in a year. You slip your feet into them, the woven straw rough against the soles of your feet. You are now ready for the day. Your hair is simply tied back. Your body is as clean as it's going to get with cold water and a twig, and your clothes are a familiar, comfortable weight. The whole process, from folding your futon to tying your sandals, has been a series of quiet, deliberate rituals. There is no rush, only a steady, methodical preparation for the work ahead. And now, properly attired and feeling almost human, the savory smell of miso soup and steaming rice finally pulls your attention toward the glowing heart of the home, the kitchen. You follow the scent of food, moving from the raised wooden floor of the main house down a single step to the daidokoro, the kitchen area. The floor here is different. It's hard-packed earth, cool and solid under your straw sandals. The air is thick with smoke, a haze that stings your eyes slightly before you grow accustomed to it. There's no modern chimney here, just a simple smoke hole in the thatched roof above. This ensures that everything you own, from your clothes to your hair, carries a permanent, rustic, smoky wood fragrance. It's the signature scent of the era. The kitchen is dominated by one feature, the kamado. It's a magnificent beast of clay and earth, a waist-high stove with 2 or 3 round openings on its flat top. From one, the lid of a heavy iron pot rattles gently, releasing puffs of steam. From another, the darker, richer smell of simmering miso broth rises. A low fire crackles within its belly, the flickering orange light providing a warm glow in the otherwise dim space. Your mother, or the woman who is the matriarch of this household, moves before it with an economy of motion that is mesmerizing. She doesn't waste a single step, tending the fire, stirring the soup, and readying the bowls, all in a silent, practiced ballet. She ladles the food into simple wooden bowls, which you take with a respectful bow of your head. There's no large table to gather around. You find a spot on the edge of the raised floor, sitting cross-legged and placing the bowls before you. The meal is the cornerstone of the Japanese diet, a combination that has fueled the country for centuries. It's the original carb loading, breakfast designed for energy, not indulgence. Your first bowl contains rice gohan. It's not the pearly, fluffy white rice you might be used to. It's likely a mix of brown rice and millet, giving it a nuttier, chewier texture. White rice was a luxury, often reserved for the samurai or for tax payments. For daily consumption, grains were mixed to make the precious rice supply last longer. You lift the small bowl to your mouth, using your chopsticks, your hashi, to guide the warm, sticky grains. The taste is simple, wholesome, and deeply satisfying. The second bowl holds the miso soup, misoshiru. Steam rises from the cloudy, savory broth. You can see small cubes of tofu, slivers of green onion, and perhaps some bits of daikon radish floating within. You bring the bowl to your lips and take a sip, a common practice here. Slurping your soup is not just acceptable, it's a sign that you're enjoying it. The flavor is a complex mix of salty, earthy, and savory, the taste of umami, from the fermented soybean paste that forms its base. It warms you from the inside out, a comforting liquid heart to the meal. Alongside the two bowls is a small dish containing a few slices of pickled radish or tsukemono. They are a vibrant, almost translucent yellow, and when you bite into one, it releases a spectacular crunch. The flavor is intensely salty and slightly sweet, a sharp counterpoint to the mildness of the rice and the richness of the soup. These pickles are a vital part of the meal, aiding digestion and adding a burst of flavor that cleanses the palate. You eat in relative silence, the only sounds being the crackle of the fire, the scrape of chopsticks against wood, and the appreciative slurps of soup. This simple meal, rice, soup, and pickles, is the foundation of everything. While the idealized formal meal, or ichiju sansai, included one soup and 3 sides, the daily reality for a farmer was often this much humbler. Ichiju isai, 1 soup, 1 side. It was enough. As you finish, you notice a clay pot set near the kamado filled with fine grey wood ash. This isn't just waste. Ash was an incredibly useful and weirdly versatile byproduct of the kitchen. It was used as a fertilizer, a cleaning agent for washing clothes, and in glazes for pottery. In cooking, a solution made from ash could act as a lye agent, essential for processing certain tough mountain vegetables or for making the gelatinous food known as konnyaku. It was a substance of quiet transformation, a bit of kitchen alchemy that turned waste into a valuable tool. Historians still debate the exact caloric intake and nutritional balance of the average farmer's diet, but it's clear that it was a constant, precarious balance between sustenance and shortage, heavily reliant on the year's harvest. A failed crop didn't just mean less profit, it meant a hungry winter. This meal you've just finished isn't just breakfast, it's security. It's the fuel for a day of back-breaking labor that will, with luck, produce the rice for the meals of tomorrow. There's no sense of it being a light meal. It's a deposit of energy into your body. You place your empty bowls down, feeling a solid warmth settle in your stomach. You give another nod of thanks to the cook. The quiet intimacy of the meal is over, the purpose for which it was eaten now, waiting just outside the door. You've been fortified, you've been warmed. Now you're ready. The world of the home, of the hearth and the family is behind you for now. The wider world of the village and the fields calls. The labor of the day is about to begin. It's time to head out. You step out of the dim interior of your home and into the full light of morning. The sun is already clearing the tops of the trees that line the edge of the valley, casting long shadows across the village. You're not alone. Other families are emerging from their homes, their movements synchronized by the same unspoken schedule. A man from the neighboring house gives you a silent nod, his face already set in a mask of stoic resolve. He carries a heavy-looking hoe, a kuwa, over his shoulder. The village paths, little more than worn dirt tracks between the thatched roof houses, are filled with a quiet, purposeful procession. There's little conversation, just the soft scuff of straw sandals on earth and the occasional clink of a tool. You grab your own tool for the day, a short-handled sickle with a wicked curve, its wooden handle worn smooth and dark from years of sweat and friction. It feels like an extension of your own hand. You fall into step with your family members, joining the slow-moving stream of bodies, heading out of the residential cluster and towards the open fields. Everyone is dressed in a similar uniform of indigo-dyed work clothes, the practical naragi you're wearing, perhaps with leggings or sleeves tied back for easier movement. As you clear the last of the houses, the landscape opens up into a breathtaking, almost overwhelming vista. Spread out before you are the rice paddies. It's early summer, and the fields are a patchwork of flooded squares, each one a perfect mirror reflecting the pale blue sky and the drifting clouds. Within these squares, neat rows of vibrant green rice shoots stand in a few inches of water. Their color so intense it almost hurts to look at. The air smells different here, thick with the scent of wet earth, growing things, and the clean, metallic smell of fresh water. The soundscape changes too. The human sounds of the village are replaced by the natural chorus of the fields, The incessant buzzing drone of insects and the deep croaking symphony of thousands of frogs hiding in the water. You walk along a narrow earthen dike that separates one family's paddy from another. It requires a certain amount of balance, especially with a tool in hand. You see a neighboring family's plot where a small flock of ducklings are paddling enthusiastically between the rice shoots. This is a wonderfully strange and clever form of pest control. The ducks are a common sight in some areas. They eat insects and weeds but leave the sturdy rice plants alone, all while their droppings provide a constant source of natural fertilizer. They are, without a doubt, the cutest and most efficient employees in the entire village. Your family's plot is waiting. You reach your designated spot and, without a moment's hesitation, you step off the dike. The sensation is immediate and jarring. The water is cool, but the mud at the bottom is thick, and it sucks at your feet and ankles with a startling grip. Your straw sandals, your waraji, are instantly soaked and heavy, but they provide a thin barrier against sharp stones or roots. You know they'll be shredded by the end of the day, but that is their purpose. Then the work begins. Today's task is weeding. It is a relentless, crucial chore. You bend at the waist, your back parallel to the water's surface, and begin to move slowly down the rows. It's a posture that would feel like a punishment in a modern yoga class, but here, it is simply the way things are done. Your eyes scan the base of each rice plant, looking for the telltale shape of unwelcome greenery. When you find a weed, you plunge your hand into the cool water, feeling through the soft mud to get a grip on its roots and pull. The motion is repetitive, hypnotic. Scan, plunge, pull, toss. Scan, plunge, pull, toss. This labor is the engine of your world, but it's important to remember a key historical fact. Much of this rice is not for you. A huge portion of your harvest, often as high as 40 or 50%, is destined for the granary of the local lord, the daimyo. This is the rice tax, the foundation of the entire feudal system. It pays the stipends of the samurai, funds public works, and fuels wars. So as you work, straining your back under the sun, you are quite literally holding up the entire social order. It's like paying for the world's most aggressive subscription service, one you can never ever cancel. The sun climbs higher, its heat growing more intense on your back and the back of your neck. The cool water on your legs is a small blessing. All around you, dozens of other villagers are engaged in the exact same task, their bent forms dotting the landscape. There is a sense of shared struggle, of a communal effort. Yet the political structure that dictates this life is complex. Historians still debate the precise degree of autonomy a typical village had. Some argue they were largely self-governing, collectives with a council of elders making local decisions, while others emphasize the constant, overbearing control of samurai administrators who could be brutally unforgiving. The truth for you is likely a tense negotiation between the two, the freedom to manage your own fields, overshadowed by the absolute power that demanded its share. You pause for a moment to straighten your back, the muscles screaming in protest. You look out across the vast green and brown chessboard of the paddies, a landscape entirely shaped by human hands. Every canal, every dike, every perfectly level field is the result of generations of this same, back-breaking work. There is no clock to watch, only the slow, steady progress through the rows of green and the position of the sun in the sky. The work continues, a silent, rhythmic dance of survival and obligation. The sun has traveled a noticeable arc across the sky when a sharp crack echoes from a few rows over. An older man curses under his breath, holding up the two pieces of what used to be his hoe. The wooden shaft has snapped clean through. It's an interruption, a break in the rhythm of the work, and an errand is created. Because you are young and your back is still relatively compliant, you are chosen to take the broken tool back to the village blacksmith for repair. You are handed the heavy iron hoe head and the splintered remains of its shaft. Leaving the paddy is a sensation all its own. You pull your feet from the thick, greedy mud, the sound a wet sloop that echoes the feeling of release. You climb back onto the narrow earthen dike, your legs and feet caked in mud up to the knees. The walk back towards the cluster of houses feels different now. The sun is higher, the air hotter, and you are moving against the quiet tide of villagers who, are still deep in their labor, bent over in the shimmering waterlogged fields. You are a temporary deserter from the silent army of weeders. As you get closer to the heart of the village, the sounds of nature recede, replaced once more by human sounds. But this time, it's not the quiet, domestic shuffling of the morning. It's a rhythmic, metallic clang, clang, clang that grows louder with every step. It's a sound of industry, a sound of force and fire. You are heading for the kajia, the blacksmith's workshop. You don't need a sign to find it, you just follow the sound and the smell. The smell hits you next, a sharp, acrid scent of burning coal and hot metal that is the complete opposite of the field's earthy perfume. It's like the smell of a barbecue gone terribly wrong. The workshop is not a closed building, but an open-fronted shack, its interior deliberately kept dark to allow the smith to better judge the color and therefore the temperature of the metal he works. As you step under the overhang, the heat washes over you. It's a dry, intense, radiating heat that makes the air shimmer, a stark contrast to the cool water of the paddies. It feels like stepping into the world's first hot yoga studio, but one with a significantly higher risk of catching on fire. The source of this heat and light is the forge, a pit of violently glowing charcoal, roaring with life thanks to a large box-like bellows being worked by a young apprentice. With each push and pull of the handle, the bellows lets out a great whoosh of air, and the fire burns brighter, spitting a fountain of golden sparks into the smoky darkness. And then you see the blacksmith himself. He is a silhouette against the fire, a man made of muscle and shadow. He's bare-chested, his skin slick with sweat and smudged with soot. He moves with a powerful grace, using long tongs to pull a piece of metal from the forge. It glows with a brilliant, almost white light. He places it on the heavy iron anvil, and the rhythmic clanging you heard from a distance begins its thunderous, up-close performance. He is not making a sword. The romantic image of the master smith forging a glistening katana is a world away from this reality. He is fixing a farming tool just like the one you've brought. His hammer strikes are not wild. They are precise, controlled, and impossibly fast. A flurry of heavy, shaping blows is followed by a series of lighter taps, coaxing the hot, pliable metal into the correct form. It's a violent, noisy, and yet incredibly skillful dance between man, hammer, and fire. This man, the artisan, occupies a curious place in the social order. According to the official Confucian hierarchy, his class, the KO, was ranked below yours, the farmers, because he did not create food from the earth. But this official ranking often meant little in the practical reality of village life. A skilled blacksmith was indispensable. Without him, tools would remain broken, plows would fail, and the entire agricultural enterprise would grind to a halt. His vital role afforded him a level of respect, and often a better income than many of the farmers he served. You watch, mesmerized, as he finishes his work. With a final ringing blow, he lifts the repaired tool head with his tongs and plunges it into a wooden trough full of water. The result is instantaneous and dramatic, a loud, violent hiss and a huge plume of steam that momentarily fills the entire workshop, smelling vaguely of sulfur. In the corner of the dark workshop, you notice something that seems out of place. Tacked to a wooden post near the sacred fire of the forge is a small paper talisman, an afuda, and a tiny shelf holding an offering of salt. This is a nod to the deep spiritualism tied to the craft. The forge was a holy place, and blacksmithing had its own kami, or gods. An obscure fact is that many smiths practiced Shinto purification rituals before important work, treating their craft not just as a job, an art form steeped in ancient tradition. Historians still debate how rigidly these craft skills were passed down. While most apprenticeships were hereditary, passing from father to son, a talented outsider could sometimes be adopted into a master's family. This ensured that the craft itself, the precious knowledge of fire and steel, was what survived, valued even more than a direct bloodline. The smith turns from the quenching trough, his work on the other tool finished. He finally acknowledges you with a grunt, his eyes taking in the broken hoe in your hands. You present it to him. He examines the break, turns the heavy iron head over in his calloused hands, and lets out another non-committal grunt. He gestures, for you to leave it. The repair will take time. Your errand is complete. As you turn to leave, he is already taking a new piece of charcoal to the forge. The fire roars behind you, a constant, hungry heart in the center of the village, and you step back out into the sun, ready to return to your own world of earth and water. Your errand at the blacksmith's is complete, but the walk back to the field seems longer now under the strengthening sun. The rice paddies shimmer in the heat, the air thick and heavy. Your throat is dry, and the thought of the cool water in the large clay pot back at the house is an irresistible pull. A brief detour won't be missed. You adjust your path, leaving the main track and winding your way back to your own home. Stepping back into the relative cool and shadow of the house is a relief, but the home is far from quiet or still. The air, which was filled with the smell of breakfast hours ago, is now layered with other scents, the sharp vinegary tang of pickling vegetables and the faint dusty smell of dry fibers. And the sounds are different too. Instead of the crackle of the hearth, there is a steady, rhythmic clack, clack, thump coming from the main room. You follow the sound. There, sitting before a large wooden frame, is the matriarch of the house. She is weaving. The machine is a simple floor loom, a hataori, but in her hands it is an instrument of incredible productivity. Her feet work the pedals, raising and lowering the threads of the warp, while her hands expertly shoot a wooden shuttle, the high, carrying the weft thread from one side to the other. After each pass, she pulls a heavy wooden beater towards her, thump, to pack the thread tightly into the growing cloth. Her movements are a blur of efficiency, her face a mask of deep concentration. She is creating the very fabric that will be used for the family's clothes, like the patched noragi on your back. It's a reminder that nothing is bought ready-made. Everything is the product of someone's time and labor. This is the other side of the village's economy, the work that happens away from the fields. It's easy to think of the men's work in the fields or the forge as the primary labor, but that's only half the story. The work of the women was a constant, multitasking marathon that was just as vital and arguably more varied. It's like they were running 3 small businesses from their living room while also raising the next generation. You see evidence of this everywhere. In one corner, a large clay pot is filled with daikon radishes being pressed under a heavy stone, slowly transforming into the crunchy sukemono you ate for breakfast. Near the now cool kamado, a stone quern sits, a handful of dried soybeans next to it, waiting to be ground into flour. A common historical fact often overlooked is that women in farming families were not exempt from fieldwork. They participated heavily in the planting and harvesting. Their domestic work was done in addition to this, in the early mornings, late evenings, and during lulls in the agricultural calendar. The idea of a quiet housewife simply did not exist. Your gaze is drawn to a rustling sound coming from a small, closed-off room. Curiosity gets the better of you, and you slide the paper screen open just a crack to peek inside. The sight is bizarre. The room is filled with wide, flat bamboo trays, and on these trays are thousands upon thousands of pale, wriggling worms. They are silkworms, and the rustling sound is the noise of them collectively chewing on a thick bed of chopped mulberry leaves. This is sericulture, a critical source of cash income for many farming families, and it was a craft almost exclusively managed by women. The worms were notoriously high-maintenance tenants. They required a constant, stable temperature and a non-stop supply of fresh leaves, meaning someone had to feed them around the clock, even through the night. The gentle, papery sound of their munching, so many people said, sounded like the patter of a soft rain. It's a strange living factory, a room full of delicate creatures working tirelessly to spin the thread that would eventually become luxurious silk, destined for the robes of a wealthy samurai or a merchant in a distant city. Seeing this hidden industry, you begin to understand the complex currents of power within the family. While the society was officially and unarguably patriarchal, a woman's domain was not without its own influence. Historians still debate the degree of informal power and economic leverage women held. A woman who was a masterful weaver or who managed a highly productive silkworm operation brought tangible wealth into the household. This skill translated into a form of authority, a say in the family's finances and future, that would never be written down in any official record but was understood by all. You finally remember what you came for and head to the large water pot, ladling some cool water into a cup and drinking it down. It quenches your thirst, but it's the scene of relentless, quiet industry that truly fills your mind as you stand there. The steady clack-clack thump of the loom is the village's other heartbeat, just as vital as the clang of the blacksmith's hammer or the squelch of boots in the muddy field. The work of the village, the sheer effort it takes to keep it all running, doesn't just happen out there under the sun. With a new and deeper appreciation for the balance of it all, you place the cup down and turn to rejoin the world of heat and mud. You make it back to the fields, your thirst quenched and your mind still processing the quiet industry of the loom and the strange rain-like sound of the munching silkworms. You find your spot and slip back into the cool embrace of the paddy, water rejoining the silent back-breaking dance of weeding. The sun, which was merely warm before, is now a powerful, oppressive weight directly overhead. There are no shadows to offer relief. The heat radiates off the surface of the water, and sweat drips from your brow, stinging your eyes. Time loses its meaning, dissolving into an endless cycle of bending, pulling, and tossing, your muscles burning with a low, constant ache. Just when you think the heat is unbearable, a call rings out across the fields. It's the voice of a village elder, his tone carrying easily over the water. It's the signal for the midday meal, the hirugohan. A collective, audible sigh of relief seems to rise from the fields. Dozens of bent backs straighten at once, a series of slow, pained movements. The work stops. The spell is broken. You and your family slog your way out of the paddy and find a spot of dry ground on one of the wider earthen dikes that crisscross the landscape. You don't go home for lunch, that would be a foolish waste of time and energy. Instead, the meal comes to you. One of the older children, too young for the heavy labor but old enough for errands, arrives carrying a basket. Other families are doing the same, gathering in small, weary groups under the meager shade of a lone willow tree, or simply sitting in the full glare of the sun, too tired to care. Your lunch is a masterpiece of practicality. It's not a hot meal, but a compact bundle wrapped in a large waxy bamboo leaf. You untie the simple twine holding it closed and unfold the leaf. Inside sit 2 stout rice balls, or onigiri. They are still faintly warm from having been packed together, and you can see the fingerprints of the person who made them pressed into their triangular shape. This is the original energy bar, portable, efficient, and packed with carbs. You take the first bite. The rice is plain, seasoned only with a little salt to help replenish what you've lost to sweat, but nestled in the center is a surprise. Small pickled plum, an umeboshi. The contrast is shocking. The plum is intensely sour and incredibly salty, a flavor explosion that makes your mouth pucker and your eyes water. Say it's so potent you feel like it could jumpstart a dead ox. But this little plum is a piece of culinary genius. A well-known historical fact is that the high citric acid and salt content of the umeboshi was believed to fight fatigue and, crucially, it acted as a natural preservative, keeping the rice from spoiling in the heat. It was the secret weapon of farmers and traveling samurai alike. You eat your simple meal slowly, making it last. The only drink is a little lukewarm roasted barley, tea or mujika, from a flask made of a dried gourd. As you chew, you look out over the fields. Near the edge of a neighboring plot, you notice a strange contraption. It's a rope strung between 2 poles, and from it hang tattered strips of cloth, oddly shaped pieces of wood, and what looks like the dried head of a fish, twisting slowly in the breeze. It's a kakashi, a scarecrow. This is an obscure but common type, designed not just to scare birds with the illusion of a person, but to deter them with unpredictable movement and unpleasant smells. It's a piece of folk engineering, a strange and silent guardian of the precious crops. After the last of the rice is gone, the short period of rest begins. The conversations are sparse and low, murmurs about water levels or a stubborn patch of weeds or the hoe that broke this morning. No one has the energy for gossip. Some people lean back against a grassy bank and close their eyes, drifting into a light, momentary sleep, oblivious to the drone of the cicadas that has now reached its deafening midday peak. You choose to tend to your waraji, tightening a frayed, strap on the straw sandals, knowing they need to last at least until the end of the day. This brief pause is a precious thing. Historians still debate whether the concept of leisure, as we understand it, even existed for the farming class. While there were religious festivals and the New Year holiday that provided longer breaks, daily life was an almost unbroken cycle of labor. Moments like this, a 20-minute pause between hours of back-breaking work, were less about recreation and more about simple system recovery. It was a time to let the screaming muscles in your back quiet down and to gather the physical and mental strength for the second half of the day. The shade from the willow tree has barely moved. The sun still beats down relentlessly. But the respite, all too brief, is coming to an end. The elder who called the break now rises stiffly to his feet. That's the only signal needed. A collective groan, part physical, part mental, ripples through the resting groups. Bodies stir, people retie their sandals, pick up their tools, and with a shared sense of grim determination, begin to file back toward the shimmering water of the paddies. The rest is over. The dance must resume. The afternoon wears on, a long hot corridor of repetitive motion. Your mind goes blessedly blank, focusing only on the task at hand. The sun begins its slow descent from its peak, and the heat, while still intense, loses its most vicious edge. You've found your rhythm again, your body a machine of quiet efficiency. Then something changes. It isn't a sound that alerts you, but a sudden, collective stillness. A few rows over, a man who has been working steadily all day abruptly stops, his hand frozen mid-pull. He straightens up, but not to relieve his aching back. His eyes are fixed on the main path that runs along the far edge of the fields. He quickly slogs his way to the dike, scrambles onto the dry earth and prostrates himself, his forehead touching the ground in the deep, subservient bow known as dogeza. Immediately, everyone understands. A wave of silent panic and deference ripples across the paddies. You and your family move without thinking, your bodies conditioned by instinct and years of training. You get out of the water, find a spot on the bank, and lower yourself into the same deep bow. To remain standing, or even kneeling, would be an unthinkable act of disrespect. This level of submission is great for your hamstrings, but absolutely critical for your life expectancy. Two figures are walking down the path. They are samurai. Even from your position, with your eyes fixed on the dirt in front of you, their presence changes the very atmosphere of the fields. The chirping of cicadas, which had been a constant drone, now seems distant and unimportant. The only sound you focus on is the soft crunch of their sandals on the gravel path and the gentle rustle of fabric, a finer, crisper sound than the coarse hemp you're used to. You risk a glance from under your lowered brow. They are nothing like the villagers. They walk with a straight-backed, unhurried gait that speaks of a lifetime without hard labor. They are dressed in immaculate kimonos and wide pleated trousers called hakama. Their hair is the most distinctive feature, the famous shonmage topknot. The top of their heads are shaved clean with the remaining long hair oiled, folded forward in a neat little tail and laid flat against the bare patti. It's a strange look, but you know its purpose. The shaved part helps a heavy helmet fit more comfortably, a practical reminder that these men are, before anything else, warriors. And then there are the swords. Tucked into each of their sashes is the daisho, the matched pair of long and short, swords that are the symbol of their soul and their status. The scabbards are lacquered wood, the hilts wrapped in dark silk. These are not tools, like the blacksmith's hammers or your own sickle. They are weapons, and they represent the ultimate conversation ender. You are keenly aware of the common historical fact of kirisuta gomen, the samurai's legal right to strike down any commoner who failed to show proper respect. While not used casually, the threat of it hangs in the air, a silent, terrifying enforcer of the social order. The two samurai stop and confer with your village elder, who has bowed even lower than anyone else. Their voices are low and authoritative, and you only catch a few words carried on the wind: tax quota, river diversion, Lord's decree. They are not asking for opinions. They are delivering instructions. They look out over the fields of bowing farmers not as a collection of people, but as a resource, a component in a much larger machine of power and wealth. One of the samurai, a younger man with a stern face, seems bored by the conversation. While the elder speaks with the senior, official, the young warrior idly rests his hand on the hilt of his katana. Then, in a movement so smooth and fast it barely registers, he draws the blade a few inches from its scabbard, just enough to catch the afternoon sun, a flash of brilliant, deadly light. He inspects the sliver of exposed steel for a moment, his eyes sharp and critical, before sheathing it with a soft, precise click. It's not a threat, not really. It's a moment of casual habit, a musician checking their instrument. But the message is clear. This is the power they hold, a power they can unleash with blinding speed. As you stare at the dirt, you wonder about their lives. Historians still debate the daily reality for the lowest-ranking samurai. While they held the status, many were desperately poor, living on fixed rice stipends that could be smaller than a successful merchant's income. You notice a small, expertly repaired fray on the silk wrap of the younger samurai's hilt. Was his life truly one of ease, or was it a constant, stressful performance of status on a shoestring budget? The conference ends. The samurai give a curt nod to the elder and continue their walk, their presence receding down the path. No one moves, no one breathes. You all wait until the sound of their footsteps has completely faded, until they are truly gone. Only then does the elder rise, brushing the dirt from his knees. He gives a quiet signal, and slowly, stiffly, the farmers of the village get back to their feet. A collective, quiet sigh is released. The tension breaks. The silence they leave behind is heavier than the sound of their presence had been. The encounter lasted only a few minutes, but it has reinforced the unbridgeable chasm between their world and yours. Slowly, reluctantly, you turn and wade back into the paddy. The rice shoots look exactly the same. The water feels the same. But the world feels different now. Its invisible hierarchies drawn in sharp, terrifying relief. The shadows of the trees stretch like long, dark fingers across the rice paddies. The oppressive heat of the day finally breaks, replaced by the soft golden light of late afternoon. A call, gentler this time than the one at midday, signals the end of the workday. The relief is so profound it's almost a physical sensation. You and the other villagers straighten your aching backs for the last time today, the movement slow and deliberate. The procession out of the fields is a mirror image of the mornings, but the energy is entirely different. There's no stoic resolve now, only a deep, bone-weary exhaustion. Your mud-caked legs feel heavy as stone as you begin the slow walk back. Out of the village, as you trudge along the familiar dirt path, a new sound cuts through the weary silence. It's not the clang of a hammer or the rustle of silk, but the rhythmic, enthusiastic chanting of many young voices. You round a bend and see the source. Gathered on the wide, polished veranda of the small village temple is a group of about 15 children. This is the local Terakoya, the temple school, where the next generation gets its education. You pause for a moment, leaning on your tool and watching. The children, ranging in age from 6 to perhaps 12, are sitting in neat rows before an old stern-faced monk. They are practicing their letters not on precious paper, but by drawing characters with their fingers in trays of fine sand. The monk calls out a character, river, mountain, rice, and a flurry of small hands work to replicate the complex strokes. The sound of their chanting is like an enthusiastic but slightly off-key choir, a drone of earnest effort. This scene is a testament to a common but often surprising historical fact. Literacy rates in this era were remarkably high. These humble temple schools were common across the land, and they were open not just to the children of samurai, but to those of farmers, artisans, and merchants. They were the engine of a surprisingly literate society. After the calligraphy practice, the monk pulls out a soroban, a Japanese abacus. He snaps the beads up and down with dizzying speed, calling out sums that the children race to solve on their own smaller versions. Seeing their intense focus, you wonder about the purpose of it. Historians still debate whether the primary goal of Terakoya education was practical literacy for future farmers and merchants, or if it was more about moral instruction, teaching Confucian values of discipline, obedience, and knowing your place. reinforcing the rigid social structure you had a stark reminder of just a few hours ago. Suddenly, the monk claps his hands. The lesson is over. Like a dam breaking, the children erupt from their disciplined rows into a chaotic, joyous flood. They spill from the temple grounds out into the village common, their pent-up energy released in a wave of shouts and laughter. The serious students of a moment ago are now just children, eager to play in the day's fading light. Their games are simple and timeless. A group of boys starts a frantic game of tag, or onigoko, their bare feet kicking up dust as they weave between houses. Their movements are reckless and full of a joyful abandon that seems a world away from the calculated grace of the samurai or the weary toil of the farmer. Another group is clattering around on takeuma, stilts made from sturdy stalks of bamboo, seeing who can stay upright the longest. It's a game that seems to involve a surprisingly high risk of toppling over. The girls, meanwhile, are in a quieter circle, playing otedama. They toss and catch small, colorful beanbags in a series of increasingly complex patterns, their hands a blur of motion. Their quiet hum of concentration is a gentle counterpoint to the boys' loud shouting. You notice one small boy, who had been the most boisterous in the tag game, now crouched at the base of a large tree. He's not playing, but carefully picking something off the bark. He turns to his friend and proudly opens his hand to reveal his prize, a collection of empty cicada shells. This is a classic, if slightly weird, summer pastime for children. Collecting these nukigara, the delicate, alien-looking exoskeletons the insects leave behind, is a serious business. They might be traded, compared, or just kept as strange trophies of the season. The sound of their play, the pure, unburdened laughter, is the most welcome sound you've heard all day. It washes over the village, momentarily cleansing the air of the day's tension and fatigue. It's a reminder that life here isn't only about the endless work, the rigid class lines, and the fear of authority. It isn't just about survival. The sound of their laughter follows you as you finally continue on your way towards home, a bright and buoyant melody in the quiet evening air. It's a reminder that even in a world built on duty and soil, a world of sawbacks and silent deference, there is still room for simple, uncomplicated joy. You finally reach your home, the sound of the children's laughter fading behind you. The familiar routine of ending the day begins. You leave your tool by the door and head to the water basin to wash the layers of mud and sweat from your legs, arms and face. The water is no longer shockingly cold, but feels lukewarm after the day's heat. The relief of being clean, even if it's a simple wash with a rough cloth, is immense. Just as you begin to feel your tired body relax, you're given one last errand. The lamp oil is running low, and a traveling merchant who arrived in the village yesterday is set to leave in the morning. Your family can't risk him leaving before you get what you need. You are handed a small string of coins, their weight familiar in your palm, and sent back out into the violet light of dusk. The village's commercial hub isn't a town square with permanent shops, but rather a designated open space near the elder's house where outsiders are permitted to trade. It's the village's version of a pop-up shop, but with less influencer marketing and a much higher chance of someone trying to barter with a bundle of firewood. The merchant has set up his stall, which is little more than a large piece of cloth spread on the ground, his wares arranged neatly upon it. His cart, which doubles as his home, stands nearby, its wooden wheels looking like they have seen many miles. The merchant himself is a study in contrasts. He belongs to the chonin class, officially the lowest rung on the four-tiered social ladder below the samurai, farmers and artisans. Yet he carries himself with a cheerful confidence that borders on swagger. His clothes are more worn than the samurai's, but more colorful than yours, and he has a quick smile and even quicker eyes that seem to assess the value of everything and everyone they land on. His sales pitch is a low, smooth patter, and you get the sense he could sell a new pair of sandals to someone with no feet. You approach his stall and look over the treasures he has laid out. It's a fascinating collection of things the village can't produce itself. There are essentials like cones of salt wrapped in paper, sharp metal needles, and the precious lamp oil you came for, held in small ceramic bottles. But there are also small luxuries that seem impossibly decadent after a day in the fields. A bolt of cotton cloth, dyed a brilliant persimmon orange, simple wooden combs, and a few delicate silver hairpins, or kanzashi, that catch the last rays of sunlight. For the children, there are sticks of amber-colored sugar candy. A few other villagers are gathered around, their transactions a quiet murmur. One woman is bartering, trading a basket of freshly woven straw sandals for a small bag of salt. You watch the negotiation, a polite but firm dance of supply and demand. You, however, have been given cash. You hold up the string of copper coins. These are mon, the everyday currency of the realm, a common feature of the period. Each round coin has a square hole in the center, allowing them to be strung together in convenient if jangly denominations. You don't think about the gold koban or silver pieces that the samurai and rich city merchants use. Your world runs on these humble copper circles. You point to the bottle of oil. The merchant names a price, a few dozen mon. You don't have enough. You counter by pointing to a smaller bottle. He shakes his head but then suggests a trade for the string your coins are on, which is a sturdy, well-made piece of cord. You agree. You carefully unthread the coins you need, hand them over, and he gives you the bottle of oil and keeps the now empty string. The deal is done. As you conclude your business, you notice another figure nearby. He's not a merchant, but an itinerant priest, perhaps a noshi from a famous shrine hundreds of miles away. He has a small portable shrine set up and is selling paper talismans or ofuda, promising protection from fires, sickness, or bad luck. It's a strangely common sight, this mixing of the sacred and the commercial. The priest brings news and a connection to the wider spiritual world, while the merchant brings salt and tangible goods. Both are peddling a form of hope. You clutch your small bottle of oil. It's easy to look at the merchant with a bit of disdain, as you've been taught to. He doesn't toil in the sun or create things with his hands in a fiery forge. He simply moves things from one place to another. And yet historians still debate the true social power of the merchant class. While officially ranked last, their control over the flow of goods and their accumulation of wealth, especially in the big cities, gave them immense practical influence. They lent money to impoverished samurai, funded the arts, and created a vibrant urban culture that was slowly beginning to challenge the old feudal order from the bottom up. This cheerful man before you is a tiny cog in that massive world-changing machine. With your purchase secure in a small cloth bag, you give a final nod to the merchant and turn for home. You leave the little bubble of commerce behind, the quiet clinking of coins and the low murmur of haggling fading into the evening air. The sun is now just a final, brilliant sliver on the horizon, and the day, with all its labor, its tensions, and its small transactions, is finally, truly drawing to a close. Your path home from the merchant's spot doesn't lead directly to your front door. It winds along the edge of the village, skirting a dark grove of ancient, twisted cedar trees. Set within this grove, silent and watchful, is the village shrine. In the deep twilight, with the sky bleeding from orange to a deep indigo, the place has a palpable presence. The bottle of lamp oil in your hand feels suddenly important, a ward against the encroaching darkness. You decide to stop for a moment. It just feels like the right thing to do. You approach the entrance, which is marked by a large torii gate. Its simple vermilion-painted timbers stand out starkly against the dark woods. Passing under it is like crossing a threshold into another world. The air seems to grow stiller. The sounds of the village recede, and you are enveloped in a profound sense of peace. The ground here is swept clean, covered in fine white gravel that crunches softly under your sandals. To your left is the chozuya, a small roofed pavilion with a stone basin of water for purification. You've already washed once since leaving the fields, which must be some kind of personal record, but this is different. This is a ritual cleansing. You pick up one of the long bamboo ladles, fill it with cool, clear water from the basin, and pour it over your left hand. Then you refill it and pour the water over your right. You pour a final ladleful into your cupped left hand and bring the water to your lips, rinsing your mouth before spitting it out discreetly onto the gravel below. The basin. You are now clean enough to approach the kami. The shrine itself, the jinja, is a small, humble wooden building. It is elegant in its simplicity, its unpainted wood, weathered to a silvery gray. Moss grows in patches on the thatched roof. Flanking The steps to the main hall are two stone guardian statues, komainu. They look like a cross between a lion and a dog, their faces frozen in opposing expressions. One with its mouth open, the other closed, symbolizing the beginning and end of all things. You ascend the few steps to the Haiden, the hall of worship. Before you hangs a thick rope connected to a large bronze bell. You take the rope in both hands and give it a firm shake. The resulting thunk and deep, resonant ring of the bell echoes through the quiet grove, an announcement of your presence to the resident deity. You then toss one of your few remaining coins into the slatted offering box, a small token of respect. Then you perform the prayer. You bow deeply twice. You straighten up and clap your hands together twice, the sharp sound startlingly loud in the silence. It feels a bit demanding, trying to get a god's attention with applause, but it's the way things are done. With your hands still pressed together, you close your eyes and offer a silent prayer. You don't ask for riches or fame. You ask for a good harvest, for protection from floods and pests, for the health of your family, and for the soul of the broken hoe to find peace. Your prayer isn't directed to a single distant god, but to the local kami who resides here, the tutelary spirit of this specific village, this land. It might be the spirit of the mountain that looms over the valley, or perhaps a local manifestation of Inari, the popular god of rice and agriculture. Your world is alive with these spirits, a belief system known as Shinto. But this isn't the only belief system. A common feature of this era was the deep mixing of Shintoism and Buddhism. The village has a Buddhist temple too on the other side of the settlement. You go there for funerals and to honor your ancestors. You go to the Shinto shrine for things concerning this life, planting, building, marriage, birth. The two faiths exist side by side, woven together into a single complex spiritual tapestry. As you finish your prayer with one last deep bow, your mind drifts to the stranger, more intimate beliefs that govern daily life. The superstition that an object, after 100 years of service, can come to life. This is the idea of the tsukumogami. You think of an old worn-out tool, a cracked teacup, or a forgotten paper umbrella, suddenly sprouting an eye and a leg and hopping about in the night. You look down at your own tattered straw sandals and sincerely hope they don't decide to walk off in protest of their working conditions later tonight. Historians still debate how literally the average person interpreted these beliefs. Were the kami and spirits seen as tangible, active forces that needed to be constantly appeased, or were the rituals more a form of ingrained social tradition, a way of marking time and reinforcing community bonds against the chaotic and unpredictable forces of nature? Standing here in the deepening gloom, it feels like it could be both. The fear of a failed harvest is real, and any comfort, any sense of protection is welcome. You back away from the shrine and descend the steps. The air is cooler now, and the first stars are beginning to appear in the sky. You pass the moss-covered komainu, their stone faces unreadable in the dark. With a final parting glance at the silent hall of the kami, you walk back towards the torii gate, your footsteps crunching a soft rhythm on the white gravel. You pass back through the gate, re-entering the mundane world. It feels the same. The path is still the same, but your place in it feels a little more settled, a little more protected as true darkness finally falls upon the land. You arrive back at your house to find it shrouded in darkness. The cheerful chaos of the children's games has subsided, and a deep quiet has settled over the village. Inside, the only light is the faint, pulsating red glow of the last embers, sleeping in the ash of the kamado. The air is cool and still. You hold up the small bottle of oil you bought from the traveling merchant. It feels like carrying a tiny captured star. Your first task is to bring light back into the home. You find the andon, the house lamp. It's a simple, elegant construction of a wooden frame with translucent paper stretched over its sides, designed to shield the flame from drafts. You slide open one of the paper screens and carefully pour a small amount of the new rapeseed oil into the little ceramic dish at its base. The wick, a simple piece of rush pith, is already in place. You use a flint and steel to strike a spark onto a piece of flammable char cloth, coaxing a tiny flame to life. With a steady hand, You touch the flame to the oil-soaked wick. It sputters for a moment and then catches, blooming into a soft, warm, flickering light. The darkness doesn't vanish. It just retreats. The lamplight pushes the shadows into the corners of the room, making them dance and sway. The light is gentle and alive, but also incredibly dim. It's great for creating a cozy atmosphere, but terrible if you wanted to read the fine print on a contract. You realize how fortunate you are to have this clean, burning rapeseed oil. An obscure fact of daily life is that many poorer families, especially those near the coast, had to use cheaper fish oil for their lamps, which filled the house with a constant, unpleasant, greasy smell. Your lamp just smells faintly of warm oil and paper. With the lamp lit, the evening preparations begin in earnest. The work is slow and methodical, a welcome change from the frantic pace of the fields. You join your mother at the hearth. She uses a small bamboo tube to blow gently on the embers, feeding them small slivers of dry kindling until they wake up and a proper fire is once again crackling in the stove's belly. It's the original low-tech version of turning the oven on to preheat. Your job is to prepare the vegetables. You take a daikon radish and a few carrots, washing them in a bucket of water before beginning to chop them on a thick wooden board. The rhythmic thock-thock-thock of your knife is a comforting domestic sound. The vegetables will go into the miso soup, making the evening meal a bit more substantial than this morning's. As you work, you can see the light from your neighbor's house. They don't have a kamado like yours. Their home is built around a nirori, a large central sunken hearth that serves as the main source of heat and light for the entire house. You can see the smoke curling from their roof and imagine them gathered around its warmth, a pot bubbling on the iron hook suspended from the ceiling. Once the food is simmering on the stove, it's time to close up the house for the night. This is a crucial ritual, the act of physically separating the family from the uncertainties of the darkness. You go to the edge of the house, where the paper shoji screens face the outside. During the day, they are the only walls, but at night, they are protected by heavy wooden shutters or a mado that run along a track on the outside. You and your father slide the heavy shutters out from their storage box at the end of the wall. One by one, you pull them across, the wood groaning softly as it moves along the track. Each shutter fits snugly into the next, and when the last one is in place, you drop a heavy wooden bar across the inside. Thump. The sound is final and deeply reassuring. The house is now a secure wooden box, a warm lamplit sanctuary sealed against the night. It's probably enough to keep out stray animals and nosy neighbors, though likely not a determined oni or a mischievous tsukumogami. You're still counting on your visit to the shrine to handle those. As you stand there in the enclosed quiet, you ponder the meaning of it all. Historians still debate how the concept of the home or the family unit was truly perceived in this era. Was it primarily an economic entity, a team of laborers bound together for survival against the demands of the Lord and the harshness of nature? Or was there a strong sense of the home as an emotional sanctuary, a private space for the family, to exist away from the rigid expectations of the community? Looking at the warm lamplight reflecting off the faces of your family, hearing the gentle bubble of the soup, you feel it's undeniably both. It is your team, and it is your sanctuary. The house is now a self-contained world, a tiny, warm island. In the vast, dark sea of the night, the smells of the simmering soup and steaming rice have filled the small space, a comforting promise of rest and replenishment. The preparations are done. All that is left is to share the final meal of this long day. The evening meal is served. The low wooden table is placed in the center of the main room, directly under the warm, gentle glow of the andon lamp. You and your family gather around it, sitting on flat cushions on the floor. The meal is simple, yet feels like a feast after the day's meager lunch. There is a large bowl of steaming rice, a pot of miso soup made heartier with the root vegetables you chopped earlier, and a dish of salty pickles. The incredible luxury for tonight is a small salted river fish, grilled over the hearth's embers until its skin was crisp. It is carefully divided so that everyone gets a small precious piece. The first few minutes of the meal are quiet, focused on the food itself. The satisfying warmth of the rice, the earthy flavor of the soup, the intense savory taste of that tiny bite of fish. It all works to soothe your tired body and replenish your spent energy. The oppressive heat, the aching muscles, the tense encounter with the samurai, it all begins to fade into the background, replaced by a simple, profound sense of gratitude for this meal. As the initial sharp hunger subsides, conversation begins to bubble up, filling the quiet space. This is the time when the day is reassembled, its scattered pieces brought together and examined by the family. Your father talks about the broken hoe and his brief exchange with the blacksmith. Your mother discusses the progress on the cloth. She is weaving and the price of oil from the traveling merchant. You mention the samurai. The mood shifts subtly, the conversation dropping to a more serious, hushed tone. The name of the river diversion project is mentioned, and your grandfather, his face a roadmap of wrinkles in the flickering lamplight, explains what it means. The Lord is planning to redirect a stream to create more arable land closer to his castle town. It's good for the domain, he says, but it might mean less water for your own village's paddies come the dry season. It's a problem with no clear solution, a worry to be filed away for later. This is how information is shared, how anxieties are collectively shouldered. You think about the village structure. Historians still debate how much of a village's social cohesion was born from genuine affection versus how much was a pragmatic necessity enforced by the Goningumi system. This was a state-mandated program where 5 households were grouped together and held mutually responsible for the taxes and good behavior of every member. It was the most intense neighborhood watch program ever devised, turning your neighbor into both your confidant and your potential liability. With the serious talk concluded, your grandfather clears his throat. It's time for the evening's entertainment, brought to you with no commercial interruptions and 0 subscription fees. It's time for a story. His voice, raspy with age, takes on a rhythmic storytelling cadence. Tonight he tells a mukashi banashi, an old tale, about a clever rabbit who outsmarts a brutish, arrogant badger. The children listen with wide-eyed fascination, even though they have heard the story a dozen times. You listen too, letting the familiar narrative wash over you. These stories are the lifeblood of the culture. In a world where books are a rarity, this oral tradition is how history, morality, and entertainment are passed down through generations. The story of the clever rabbit isn't just about animals. It's a quiet lesson for the powerless, that wit can be stronger than brute force, that intelligence is a weapon against arrogance. It's a comforting thought after the day's display of samurai authority. The meal winds down. As you finish your rice, you perform a small, almost unconscious ritual. You deliberately leave a few stray grains in the bottom of your bowl. This is a quiet offering for the gaki, the hungry ghosts. It's a strange and specific belief from the Buddhist side of your spiritual life, the idea that the souls of the greedy are reborn into a state of perpetual tormenting hunger. Leaving a few grains of rice is a tiny act of compassion for these pathetic spirits, a reminder to be grateful for what you have. You just hope they don't file a complaint about the portion sizes. The last story is told, the bowls are empty, but no one is in a hurry to move. The lamp sputters softly. The day's work is done, the day's news is shared, the day's lessons are reinforced through ancient tales. In the small warm circle of light, the family simply exists together, a single unit fortified by food and stories against the vast, silent darkness sealed away behind the heavy wooden shutters. For a few precious moments, there is nothing to do, nowhere to be, no one to bow to. There is only this. The warm, contented feeling after the meal lingers in the air, but it can't last forever. With a collective, gentle sigh, the moment ends. The spell is broken, and the final routine of the day commences. The empty bowls and plates are collected, to be given a final rinse before morning. And then the evening edition of the household gymnastics routine begins, transforming the living space back into a bedroom. You help your family members unroll the futons from the closet where they've been stored all day. The thick padded mattresses are laid out on the wooden floor in the same spots they occupied last night. The heavy quilted kakebuton are placed on top, and the firm, husk-filled makura are set at the head of each. The room, which was a dining hall and a storytelling theater moments ago, is once again a communal sleeping chamber. The last act before true darkness descends is to extinguish the lamp. Your mother carefully blows out the small flame of the andon. The warm golden light vanishes instantly, and the house is plunged into a profound, almost liquid darkness. The change is absolute. Your eyes, accustomed to the soft glow, are now useless. You rely on memory to navigate the few steps to your futon. For a few moments, the only light is the faint, silvery moonlight that manages to find its way through a tiny crack between the heavy wooden shutters. Lying on your back, you feel your senses recalibrating to the night. The world, which was so full of sights, is now a symphony of quiet sounds. You can hear the soft, rhythmic breathing of your family members around you. You hear the chirp, chirp, chirping of crickets outside, a sound so constant it's almost a form of silence. The wind whispers through the thatch of the roof above you, and the old house lets out a soft groan as it settles for the night. Then a new sound begins, distant at first. Clack, clack. It's a sharp, rhythmic sound made by striking two pieces of wood together. It grows steadily louder as it approaches your house. Clack, 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 clack. This is the sound of the Yomawari, the village night watch. It's not a stealth mission. The noise is the entire point. You hear their voices, a low melodic call that is both a warning and a reassurance. Hi no Yojin, be careful of fire. Hi no Yojin. This is their primary purpose. In a village of wood, paper and straw, a single stray ember could mean catastrophe for everyone. The night watch, usually two men from the village taking their turn in a rotation, walk the dark, empty paths, their wooden clappers and their familiar call, a constant reminder to be vigilant. They are the guardians of the village's collective safety. As they pass your house, the clacking is loud and clear right outside the wooden shutters. You imagine the two men, carrying a single paper lantern between them, their faces illuminated in its soft glow. They are a shield against the mundane dangers of the night, fire, a clumsy ox wandering from its pen, or even the rare threat of a bandit. But they are also a shield against the other dangers, the ones born of superstition. The night is the domain of the yokai and the yurei, the time when spirits and demons are thought to be most active. The steady human sound of the night watch is a comforting presence against those fears. Your grandfather shifts on his futon and murmurs, almost to himself, that he hopes the watchmen remember to avoid the path by the old willow tree. He says, "The Yonaki Ishi, the night-crying stone, has been heard again recently. It's a chilling piece of local lore, a story about a large stone near the river that is said to weep at night, marking the spot of some forgotten tragedy. Hearing it is a terrible omen. Apparently even the local geology is haunted. Lying there in the near-total blackness, you consider what the night truly is. Historians still debate how pre-industrial societies truly experienced this kind of profound darkness. Was it a source of constant, paralyzing terror, a world populated by imagined monsters and real threats, where every creak and rustle was a cause for alarm? Or was it a familiar, natural state with its own rhythms and comforts, a state that people were far more attuned to than we are in our brightly lit modern world? Perhaps the truth is that it was both. A time for fear, but also a time for deep, unparalleled peace. The sound of the clappers begins to fade now as the watchmen continue their patrol through the village. Clack, 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 clack. The sound gets fainter and fainter, until it's finally swallowed by the endless chirping of the crickets. The watch has passed your section of the village. For now, all is well. The house is secure, the family is together, and the guardians are walking the paths. And in the deep, profound and peaceful dark of the house, you finally let your body surrender to its exhaustion. You lie perfectly still in the profound darkness of the house, your body a dead weight against the futon. The exhaustion you feel is more than just tiredness. It's a deep, cellular-level weariness, a feeling of being completely and utterly spent. Your muscles, particularly in your back and legs, are sending a steady stream of complaints up to a head office that has long since closed for the night. Yet there is a strange satisfaction in it. It's the ache of purpose, the feeling of a body that has earned its rest. The heavy kakebuten quilt is a comforting pressure, pinning you gently to the earth. Your mind, untethered from the day's tasks, begins to drift. It floats back through the hours, not as a clear narrative, but as a series of fleeting, ghostly sensations. You can almost taste the sharp, sour shock of the umeboshi plum from your midday meal. You feel the memory of the blacksmith's hammer, a rhythmic, phantom vibration in your bones. You hear the crisp rustle of silk from the samurai's robes, a sound that still makes you feel infinitesimally small. The images blur and blend together, the endless green rows of rice shoots in the watery fields, the frantic, happy chaos of the children's games, the stern, impassive face of the monk at the Terracotta school. You see the gentle, knowing eyes of your grandfather as he told the story of the clever rabbit, his voice a low, comforting rumble. You feel the cool water of the purification fountain at the shrine, a moment of clean, quiet solitude. The day was a long, unbroken chain of labor and duty, but your memory now picks out these small, shining moments like polished stones found in the mud. This whole experience feels dreamlike, a transient state. It reminds you of the Buddhist concept you've heard the monks talk about, the ukiyo, the floating world. While the samurai and rich townsfolk might interpret that as a world of fleeting pleasures, for you here, it feels more fundamental. This life, this day is all just a passing dream, a series of moments that rise and fade. The thought isn't sad, it's strangely liberating. If it's all a dream, then the pain in your back and the fear of the Lord's decree are just as fleeting as the taste of the grilled fish or the warmth of the sun. The sounds of the night form a gentle lullaby. The cricket chorus is the main orchestra, their ceaseless chirping a soft, textured blanket of sound. A distant dog barks once, twice, then falls silent. The wind sighs, a long, slow breath against the wooden shutters. From inside the room, the soft, rhythmic breathing of your family is the sound of safety, of life continuing even in the depths of sleep. You are a part of this small, breathing ecosystem of rest. As you drift closer to the edge of sleep, your thoughts grow stranger, dipping into the world of folklore. You hope that if you have any bad dreams tonight, the mythical Baku will be nearby to eat them. You picture the strange, tapir-like creature, a divine dream eater, and send a silent invitation its way. You've had enough excitement for one day. You don't need nightmares about angry badgers or disapproving samurai. You hope the Baku has a very big appetite. What is a good life in this time? Historians will one day debate what constituted happiness for a person in your position. Was it simply a full belly, a warm place to sleep, and a roof that didn't leak? Or was there a deeper sense of fulfillment found in the web of community, in the comfort of faith, in the pride of raising a family and seeing the harvest through? Lying here, suspended between the memory of work and the promise of rest, you suspect the answer is that happiness isn't a destination you search for. It's a fleeting byproduct of a life lived with purpose, a wild grass that grows in the cracks between the stones of hardship and duty. Your thoughts begin to lose their shape. The image of the ducks in the rice paddy returns, but now they are wearing tiny hats. The sound of the loom clacking becomes the sound of the night watchman's wooden blocks. The memories of the day are shuffling themselves into a new, nonsensical order, preparing to become the scenery for your dreams. The weight of the quilt feels heavier, more insistent. The chorus of the crickets seems to be pulling you down, into a soft, dark, quiet place. The last coherent thought you have is of the single perfect grain of rice you left in your bowl, a tiny offering to a hungry ghost. Then even that thought dissolves, like salt in water, and you are finally, deeply, asleep. You are floating now in a warm and quiet space. The edges of the day have all worn away, leaving only a soft, comfortable darkness behind. The aches in your body are fading, replaced by a feeling of gentle, weightless peace. The sounds of the village, the crickets and the wind are now just a soft, distant hum, a gentle vibration that rocks you slowly. There are no more tasks to complete, no more fields to weed, no more masters to bow to. There is only this stillness, this deep and profound rest. Your breathing is slow and even, a quiet tide pulling in and out. Let the last of your thoughts drift away like leaves on a slow-moving stream. Let the darkness hold you. Let the quiet fill you. There is nothing to do now but rest, rest, rest.